Hello, I'm Sean Patrick, and I wanted to talk to you real quick about psychic con artists. Um, you have you basically have three kinds of readers, and I suppose I could put them in a few different categories, but what comes to mind are three type of readers. You have the pragmatic reader, okay, whether they're reading tarot cards or whatever else, psychic readings, whatever they're doing. You have the person who looks like your next door neighbor. They don't look special or exotic. They're probably very unassuming, um, but they're good readers, and they might do readings at their kitchen table. Um, but these people, they're unassuming. Like I said, they look like your next door neighbor. They're pragmatic. They're down to earth. Um, and I would say they're kind of the minority in the business of doing readings. What you'll largely find out there is the New Age reader, uh, who could be very woo-woo, right? Um, they might have an exotic name. They might have a lot of exotic jewelry or look exotic in some way. Uh, they these readers, their heads are in the clouds, but unfortunately their feet aren't planted firmly on the earth. Um, they might be into things or talk about things that are just nonsensical, right? Uh, Ascended masters, they might be into channeling aliens. They might think they're the reincarnation of some, important historical figure. Point is, they're very woo-woo, and they seem to be pretty out there. This doesn't make them bad readers, however. Um, you could be weird and be out there and still be a good reader. I've had a lot of friends who would fit this bill, who are very woo woo and have exotic names and really look the part. And they're a lot of fun to be with, and they do good readings. Um, but you got to take some of it with a grain of salt. In fact, you should take all readings with a grain of salt. Um, and if you want to know the future, create it, because you have the power to do that. You have the power to make a positive change and create things in your life. Um, but those would be the first two, okay? And I don't want to go into that, but we have the pragmatic reader. Guy looks like your person looks like your next door neighbor. You have the woo woo reader, um, who could be kind of out there. And they do good readings. They're just not, very grounded. But what I want to talk about is the con artists, because you have con artists out there that are doing readings and that are taking advantage of people. There is one particular woman in my area who's got a big sign in her house, a psychic reader, and she is taking advantage of people. I've had a few people come to me for Reiki treatments, Reiki sessions, pretty distraught because they were told they have a curse, that a curse is on them. And they were really upset. I can think of two people in particular. And they were concerned that they didn't have the money to have the curse removed. It was like an obscene amount of money, like 10 grand or 5 grand or whatever it was. And I would have to spend time with them, explaining and trying to convince them that there was no curse on them. That's didn't happen to you. Okay, that's not a thing. You're not cursed. um, and that was a lot of work on my part. Um, but this lady has, I don't know, she's a piece of work. uh, One lady went to her for a reading, and instead of getting a reading, this woman convinced her to do her grocery shopping, and she went to the grocery store and bought her groceries and bought her a pack of cigarettes. Um, and there's a whole family of these people that are doing this in my area, and unfortunately, I picked up a few of their victims and really tried to convince them that there was no curse. Um, and there's a few things that a con artist will do for a reading. So you have what's called cold readings. Okay, um, a cold reading is a vague or general information that could apply to anyone. You know, they might say something like trying to think. Uh, um, Sometimes you get, sometimes you could have social anxiety, or sometimes you have a tendency to overthink things, or sometimes you can really doubt yourself. Who doesn't that apply to? So that's a cold reading. There's I mean there's a whole science behind this. You know, they get this down. And I should also say that a lot of good practical readers I know understand the term cold reading differently than, say, a skeptic or a con artist. Some readers will say, "Oh, yeah, I do cold readings." And what they mean by that is that they're doing psychic readings without the divination, without the tool, without the tarot cards, without the astrological chart. But generally, what this actually means, cold reading, is they're giving you vague information that could apply to anyone. Okay, um, probably the more common uh, con out there for these con artists is a hot reading, and that's basically just getting information about someone online. Um, we put all our business out there on Facebook, on Twitter, on social media. Uh, People know, I mean, we take pictures of our food, we tell people where we're at, who we're with, what's going on in our lives. Internet's something else. Um, so that would be a hot reading. Someone gathering information on you before they give you the reading. Uh, this is a con job. Another thing they might do is what's called fishing. They're fishing for information. And what they're trying to do is get you to give up uh, some important bits of information about yourself without you even realizing you're doing it. So, fishing, that's another term. So you got cold readings, you got hot readings, you got fishing. Uh, you got these TV psychics. I'm sure some of them are pretty legit. But they use something called shotgunning. I'm getting a J name over here. Okay, that could apply to a lot of different people. You know, um, and then the other big thing with with the psychic con artists is they'll sometimes use an egg. Now, there's actually a really cool form of divination called umancy. And in umancy, you take an egg and you kind of rub the person's aura, or you brush their field, or you might brush their arms or skin with an egg, and then they'll crack it and put it in a bowl, and then they'll read it like you're reading tea leaves or coffee grounds, and this is called scrying. Okay. Scrying is the same thing as like looking into a crystal ball. And then they'll look at the egg and determine things about yourself. unfortunately, umancy is a lost art. And if you're getting a reading and an egg comes into play, run, because it's a con job. Usually what they do is they'll take hair that they got from a brush or some kind of like ketchup packets or blood tablets, and with sleight of hand they'll stick something in the egg when they break it open and go, oh my god, you got a fucking curse. I need special equipment so I could remove it. It's going to cost 10 grand. So if someone pulls out an egg, run. Be aware of cold readings and hot readings, and fishing. And if anyone really has a sign on their house that says psychic readings, that's, I don't, I would avoid that. But there are, as I said earlier, practical, pragmatic readings, or readers out there. And even some flaky ones, some flaky woo-woo readers out there who are actually pretty good. Like I said, you just have to take some of it with a grain of salt, okay? So, I mean, what should you expect from a good reading? From a reading in general? I'm going to say this up front. No reader is 100%, okay? I think a really good reader is 80%, okay? But no tarot reader, no psychic reader is going to be 100%. I mean, Michael Jordan was at the height of his career in the 90s, and occasionally he would miss the basket. That's just part of the territory, So don't expect a reader to be 100%, okay, all the time. And even when I do tarot readings, sometimes I have an off day, and that's okay. I can still work with the cards and just read the cards. But what you can expect from a reading is, I don't know, you should walk away with more clarity. You should walk away from a reading with a better perspective on things. A good reader's not gonna, stroke your ego or blow smoke up your ass by telling you a bunch of sweet things you want to hear. Sometimes there's hard information that comes through a reading. But ultimately, you should leave and walk away from a reading feeling better than when you walked in, and that's always my goal with my clients. I want them to feel better when they walk out than when they walked in. I want them to realize they have the power of choice, and so when you walk away from a reading, you should feel empowered, like you have the power of choice. You should walk away from a reading and knowing that you are empowered and have the ability to follow your own intuition. And that's what I always tell my clients after a reading. I always thank them for the reading. I say, I hope you feel empowered, that you have choice and free will, and I hope you got a clearer perspective on things. And that's how you should feel. You should feel better from a reading when you walked in, like you have choices, like you have a different perspective, And I think that's all I have to say on the matter. So, be mindful when getting a good reading, and just be careful out there, because there's some con artists. If anyone tells you you have a curse, they're full of shit. Leave. If they pull out an egg, leave. And just be mindful of those things I told you about. Cold readings, hot readings, fishing. I mean, there's all kinds of terms that skeptics like to throw out there. But, this stuff's real. There's con artists out there. So, So I'm going to tell you, like I tell my clients, you have the power of choice, you have free will, and you have the ability to follow your own intuition. Okay, so be mindful, be careful, and use good judgment. Okay, I'm Sean Patrick, and thank you so much for watching. If you like this, go ahead and give a like. If you have any questions at all, leave a comment. And thank you so much.